I was traveling a lot, but tied to the corporation, not making enough money that I wanted to make, even though I was already making six figures. And I really wanted to enjoy life. I didn't want to be making someone else profitable. And that was just around that time where everything was new and different, that people were even thinking of that. So this is like a very sustainable business that we have been doing for 18 years. And our life has changed completely since then because I quit my six-figure corporate job. I started creating my own online assets that have been giving me money at the six-figure level.
Welcome to the Move Abroad Coach podcast, the show for coaches, freelancers, and entrepreneurs who are ready to create freedom-based lives overseas. I'm your host, Rochelle Gamblem, Move Abroad coach and business mentor, who's built a life in 6 different countries and helped thousands of people create lives they love abroad. In this show, we get real about what it takes to make your move happen, from creating income you control to navigating visas, mindset, and everything in between. So if you're ready to design a life that feels aligned, sustainable, and truly free, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Move Abroad Coach podcast. This interview is one I've been planning for a while, and I am so excited to share this with you. So if you're creative and you want to make money doing work that you love from anywhere, and you love the idea of low ticket and hate the idea of direct sales, getting on sales calls, convincing someone to buy from you, you'd rather just create something that's fully optimized for the market and let people buy it and make good money while you're doing it, this episode is for you. So today I'm talking with Jen and Elke Clarke, who are the mother-daughter duo that teach people how to make money doing print on demand. And we're not talking the t-shirt and mug version you're probably picturing, but the real business version. So here's why I needed to bring them on. So Elke started doing print on demand 18 years ago. She walked away from a 6-figure corporate job because someone told her she'd hit her income ceiling at 35. And she went on to become one of the top 5 sellers on their platform ever. And she's made $1.5 million in pure profit just from designs she uploaded once. Then Jen used this exact strategy to make money so that she could move to Spain when she was 20. She lived in Mallorca for 10 years, 5 minutes from the beach, working around 2 hours a day while she lived here. And the best part is she's still making money off of products that she designed over 10 years ago. And now they teach people how to do this too. And this is really the closest thing to truly passive income while also being truly location independent that I have ever seen. You make the thing once, it sells over and over to people from all around the world, and you never touch shipping, customer service, or inventory. So if you've ever thought, I want to move abroad, but I don't know what I'd do for money, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. All right, so I have Jen and Elke here. Welcome to the Move Abroad Coach podcast. So before we jump in, do each of you want to take turns quickly introducing yourself?
All right, so hi,
Okay,
I'm
go ahead, Jen.
and this is my mother, Elke, and her and I are a mother-daughter duo team who teach people how to make money using print on demand. And the reason why we're here on Rochelle's podcast today is because I personally used my print on demand business to allow me to live abroad in Spain. And I lived in Spain for 10 years doing this business. And now, because we became so successful at doing that business, now we teach people how we did what we did. So that's a little bit about me. I'll get into more about my story about how I lived abroad when we dive into that later on in this podcast, but I'll give the floor to Elke.
Yeah, and I'm the mother who started the duo because I wanted to live abroad. And I was working in a corporate job. I was traveling a lot, but tied to the corporation, not making enough money that I wanted to make, even though I was already making six figures. And I really wanted to enjoy life. I didn't want to be making someone else profitable. And that was just around that time where everything was new and different, that people were even thinking of that. But even print on demand was so early on that people were sending me their Visa card information so that I could buy the product they wanted from my store because they didn't trust the internet.
Yeah.
So this is how far back we
Oh,
go. So this is like a very sustainable business that we have been doing for 18 years. And our life has changed completely since then because I quit my 6-figure corporate job. I started creating my own online assets that have been giving me money at the 6-figure level since. And I've made over $1.5 million in pure profit just from that. And we've helped our clients do so much in terms of building their own assets on their own print on demand stores that we've helped sell over $200 million worth. And so if that piques your interest, let's get into it because that's what we're here to do. We are so passionate about this because until you've lived it, just like Rochelle with, it's possible, just do it. But until you've lived it, it's so fearful. It's so hard to understand, to comprehend, taking you from this sort of safety, which is really not safety, to something that feels impossible. And yet it's been possible for so many people. And we're walking that impossibility right now because we're truly living that life as we speak. We've been coaching now for 10 years. This is our 10-year anniversary, and we're going strong. And we just keep bringing more people in. Just like Rochelle, it's a thing and it's possible, and it's so much better than your previous life.
I love this, and I'm so happy to have you both here. And I think, Elka, a lot of people can relate to the way that you're feeling right now. Where I'm like, oh, I'm making this income, but this is not what I want for my life, and I can't take this kind of job overseas. And this is why I'm so glad to have both of you on today, because when I learned about your business model and the fact that you can do this overseas and you can make money doing this, I thought, okay, we need to get both of you on the podcast to talk about this. So I think a lot of people have heard of print on demand, but I know, at least for me, I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like, what exactly does it, like, what is it? So can you, one of you, jump in and describe exactly what that means, and like what you would be creating if you were
Mhm.
to have a print
I
on
can
demand
go.
business?
Yeah, sure.
Jen, you want to
So
go
it's
for it?
funny because traditionally people think print on demand automatically. If they know about it, they think, okay, t-shirts and mugs, and that you're selling some sort of thing on. And
Hmm.
people actually think more about Etsy than anything. The platform that we are particularly focused on and have been for the last almost 18 years, like I said, is a platform called Zazzle. But print on demand is a way for people to make money by uploading designs to products that don't have a design on them yet. And then when somebody purchases that product from your store, you earn a royalty. And so, for example, if I create a design and put it on a t-shirt, for layman's sake, someone buys my t-shirt for $25 and I earn a royalty as a percentage. So about $2.50 or something like that. So some people might think that that's not a lot
Hmm.
of money, but if you have a lot of inventory in your store and you're selling quite often and using the strategies that we teach in our course, people can make quite a bit of money. And it's not just t-shirts. I particularly, when I first started out on this platform, I got into the wedding market. And so I focused in on making wedding invitations, save the dates and thank you cards and all of the supplies and decor for weddings. And this platform has over 2,500 different product types and styles that you can design on, from invitations to mugs, of course, and t-shirts. But then they have candles, they have wine bottle labels, they have skateboards. Like, it's all over the map. They have pickleball paddles and home decor items like wallpaper and pillows. So whatever your fancy, right? If you wanted to find this really nice niche where, let's say, you're really into home decor, and you don't have to be a designer to make money on this platform. You just have to have sort of an eye of maybe what could sell. And so, Rochelle, let's say you really like home decor and you like outfitting your house, right? And so you might take interest and say, hey, I already have this knowledge of that. I like to search out nice things for my home. Now I can take what I know and actually translate that into an online store. And so a lot of people don't think, like, you don't have to be a business owner and you don't have to be a graphic designer to make money online. And now, like previously, Elke and I actually had to either purchase graphics or make our own graphics. Um, or patterns, etc. But now with AI, we don't always say go towards it, but people are creating really cool patterns and graphics. And by graphics, I mean like floral designs or patterns. And obviously
Mhm.
particular to what you're designing on, but AI can really help you. And so it's not actually that scary for people who don't know how to create designs in Photoshop or any graphics related program. Yeah.
And I want to just add too, and because Jen just sort of dove right in, which is kind of cool because it makes it relatable. But from coming, like your clients are probably people who are in the corporate space, know a lot about business. They're doing really well. They understand how to create and run a business. And in the print on demand space, it has generally just been uh, people who are crafty or they want a secondary just hobby. And so they haven't used the really cool business model of print on demand, which is basically zero inventory, zero customer service, zero like anything. Just add the products to your store and understand what is selling and understand the market and be really good at marketing and creating a business plan and a portfolio that is going to work for you. So those are all corporate experiences that I brought to the table. And that's why I became one of the top 5 sellers on the platform ever. And because of that, I didn't need to know, like I'm a scientist. I do like having, I have a creative spark, but on the other hand, I came from a science background. I had no clue about making patterns or putting stuff up, but I did understand how to run a business. And that's what your clients are obviously very good at, because otherwise they wouldn't be in the position to even move abroad, right? Because they're really good at what they do financially and they have the resources, but they're looking for that secondary income that's going to maybe either boost their current pension income or they're going to actually decide that this is so empowering that they can actually make more than they used to make. I was making $20,000 pure profit US per month, and I'm a Canadian, so that's a lot more money.
Yeah.
And that's consistent recurring monthly revenue, which I didn't have to do any work for. I basically was, after I'd set it up, I was working maybe 3 hours a month. Most of that time I was just checking how much I made. So yeah, you'll have
20,000 would be a dream for a lot of people.
it
Yeah.
is a dream, and
Mhm.
the thing is not a lot of people who are the crafters and the quick fix people that are looking for that understand the value of creating a proper foundational business that can then generate income for years to come. And so that's where a lot of people lose out on being able to be successful on print on demand. And they also, there's a lot, if you just now go look, because now your interest is peaked and you're going to go look up print on demand, you're going to find a lot of let's say fake gurus, which are people that are going like, I made $1 million in 1 month. And it's like, please don't listen to those people. Because every business, as you know, is a small business that you have to set the foundation. There's going to be sort of that hockey stick approach to what you expect from your revenue, right? You're going to start out slow. You're building the foundation. You're going to invest more than you make initially, but as you build your business and you create that credibility and you start to create your assets and you get better at what you're doing, then all of a sudden you're going to see the payout, and then that hockey stick earning is going to go up. And that's exactly this business model that we've been teaching for the last 10 years. And that's the business model that Jen and I used to get started. And it's a funny story because I started this, I used my business approach to do it. And then Jen also goes like, well, this is cool, but I don't want to listen to
I
you.
didn't say
You're
that.
old. And because yeah, no, it's true. She said that literally to me. And she goes like, you're
I
old.
was a
You don't know what you're
teenager at
doing.
the
This is a
time,
new
okay? So
online thing. Yeah. Yeah, I know. And
Give
I
me
was
some
like, I
slack.
know what to do. Like, I know what to do. And so she tried for a little bit, but then she can tell the story more. But after a while, it was like this, okay, mom, tell me what to do because you're doing better than I am. And that's when we realized that like I didn't know what they were called at the time, but now we made a name for it, right? 5 strategy framework. But it really truly is the 5 strategies running a business, irrespective of what the business is. And when you apply those principles to print on demand, then you can tap into this 34, like right now it's 20 billion in terms of market share in 2026, but it's expected in 2034 to go up to $100 billion in market share. And it's a platform that we're using that's quite unknown. It's not saturated yet. And it's
Mhm.
just the perfect time to get in. from a business perspective, like all the boxes are ticked. And then you have people that can teach you. So all you have to do is do the work. And we have a lot of client successes that we love talking about. But the most important thing is it's not our success, it's the client success. And being really excited for those clients is the big deal. Just like you're obviously going to be that champion for everyone who wants to move abroad. We're the champion for anyone who wants to create that portfolio. And we have so many people that we still keep in touch with 10 years later. And they go like, I just never understood or under like the potential and how it could serve me in so many different ways. And the income just keeps coming in, even though I haven't worked at it for a while. And they're like
it's like the passive income dream, right? Where I'm like, oh, well, passive income is still active. Like you still have to do something. But then what you're saying is, yeah, but once you do it, it lives there. And I also love that the Canadians are giving me the hockey stick analogy of income, but it makes complete sense. I'm like, yes. But just a quick clarification question. So for example, I mean, Jen, you said you were doing wedding things. And as somebody who planned a wedding from a rural Australia and there was not a lot like going on. I mean, I had to kind of take designs and get them printed myself. But so what you were doing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is like you were creating this design that then couples could put their own name in or something like that. And then boom, it's on a welcome sign or it's on a guest book or the like a canvas or something like that. So you would create the design and then people could potentially, in the case of weddings,
I think the one thing that we also didn't mention for print on demand is that you can make a bucket load of money on one design because it can be sold to multiple different people around the world. So getting back to your point, so yes, I would create wedding designs. And let's say I created a wedding suite. So invitation, save the date, RSVP, sticker, stamp, envelope, and all of the stationery items. Then Zazzle also offers, like you mentioned, guest books. They offer welcome signs. They offer banners. They offer paper plates and paper napkins, like all of the things. So what I would do is I would create something that did have names and did have locations and addresses and dates and everything associated with it. I would literally make a wedding invitation. I would use my name and my brother's name, which is so weird and funny. And so what you would do is you would put the names in, but there's something where when you're creating as a designer, and this is more the technical side of things, you're creating it as a template. And so if I put in my name, Jennifer and Alexander, which is my brother's name, are getting married on the 5th of September, 2027. And so I would make it look literally like a real wedding invitation. And then what you would have done with your husband is come in, you would put Rochelle and what's your husband's name? And then you would buy my invitation, but it would be completely with your information and or even your pictures if I made a product with pictures in it as well. And I put template photos in. And so to my point of what I said before is that print on demand, you can create one design and it can be sold multiple times. That's the beauty of it, is that you're not actually doing very much work. You just kind of have to do and know the strategies of what to sell. Particularly, I had one save the date that has sold over 800,000 copies. And so you can think of that as that me personally just creating one postcard that had a picture of a couple on it, said save the date, and it had a date on it. It was super simple. It blew up and I made a ton of money on it because it was something that was selling at the time. And so it's not that we have to have this huge amount of inventory. Of course, you want to have inventory in your store so that you can sell multiple different things and at different price points, obviously. But you can also think about it in a way that, you're creating one design and it can be used over and over and over again and sold multiple times. And so to your point as well, yes, I would sell to people who I had no idea who they were. I would make my wedding invitations and someone would just buy it and I would see a sale, and there's no real information. You can see their name and where they're from, but there's no email, there's no contact information, because as print on demand designers, you don't deal with the customer service. You don't deal with shipping, handling, all of that stuff. It goes through the actual platform. And so when I sell something, it's like I did the work initially, but now I don't need to do the work. And funny enough, like you can make designs, like Elke said, passive income. I have certain wedding invitations that I made in 2010, 2011 that are still selling 10 years, 15 years like now. So,
Oh,
like I And I used to
That's the
work for
dream,
dollars.
huh?
So hours worked and dollars earned. You're like, hours worked 10 years ago, and I'm still reaping the benefits from it, which is really awesome. Um,
Wow.
so, and
And
I just
I
think of
just want
how
to,
many of these things I've purchased too. And living abroad, it's been a little less print on demand and more like I get the design and get it printed myself. But even like with baby shower things
all
that are
things, yeah.
customizable graphics, or we had like a little wooden circle with my daughter's name and middle name and her date of birth that we had shipped over to Georgia that I could put next to her when she was born. That's definitely print on demand. Tons of wedding stuff. So I just think of myself, how much
Yeah.
money that I've spent. And it's not a ton, but like even
yeah.
someone living abroad who doesn't get things easily, I've had things made. And then I just think of, gosh, how many people like me, times a million are buying this kind of stuff. And I'm curious, I've seen it on Etsy, but why the platform Zazzle? And do people, like, as a consumer, I've never been on Zazzle. So how are people finding you and why do you like that platform as opposed to Etsy?
And I just want to clarify, like Jen's talking about weddings. So all of your people that are listening and go like, I don't do weddings. I do everything else. And what my success was monograms and typography and as your to your point, why Zazzle? Zazzle was the very first and still is the leader of real-time visualization of what it is that you're modifying on the templates that Jen's talking about. That you can see it exactly in real time as to what it's going to look like. So it's this really cool editing tool that gives you it allows for customer cart completion very much quicker than anything else in terms of being trusting of an online site because of its customization ability and the fact that they basically can see what you're going to be buying, even though you're modifying a template right there instantaneously. And the
That's nice.
no other print on demand platform does that. So every other like Etsy or whatever else, there's either customer interaction where the seller has to go back and forth and work with the client. That just totally ruins your profit margin because you're constantly working with people. Whereas here, they're doing the job themselves, but you're still charging what you want. And Zazzle is, as Jen said, there's just such a wide variety. So we have clients that are selling things because they like knitting and crocheting, and that's their thing. And we had one lady who liked watercolor and fly fishing, and she made a business out of that because she uploaded her watercolor that was all about fly fishing, and she put it on certain products. And as I said, like I'm not a wedding person. I love weddings. I love what Jennifer's doing, but my money came from setting business cards up with proper typography and a very specific monogram that I developed that is now to the point where it's branded with my name again with it. And that monogram has probably about 50% of my income came from that one monogram being used in multiple different ways. So as soon as you get some sort of customizable designs that people really love and can use and utilize and make their own, that's the secret. And we love that platform just for that because there's only one platform just starting to do that now in 2026. So we've had a 10-year run, but the Zazzle's so far advanced in its technology that no one's really going to come and pick that up. And the Zazzle market is still unsaturated. So it's really a really lovely playground of trying things out. And we don't pay for listings and we don't pay for a store. So everything we do is just our own time and our internet. There is no fee for listing. There's no ads that you can spend money on that it's all has to be organic searchable. So it's the best profit margin and the easiest to get into it because just the quality of your work and the searchability is all you need in order to be able to start attracting clients. Yeah.
I love this. And especially that fly fishing watercolor example, as I'm thinking particularly of a couple people that I've worked with that are really like creative and artistic and like can create beautiful art pieces, but the actual creation and selling of art, in order to make money, like you got to sell your art for a lot and it takes hours and hours. But imagine if you could create something like this watercolor map that's behind me. And if you're listening on the podcast version, the watercolor map that's what's behind me. But like if you were to paint something like that and put it on a canvas that someone could hang up, or put it on, like a shirt or whatever, if it's something that you could frame and put in your house, like you put it on all these different things, like you're only creating the painting once, but
Mhm.
making money off of it forever, which is
Absolutely.
incredible.
We've helped so many people that are amazing artists that have licensing deals even with big manufacturers, and they still see the value of coming to Zazzle and adding more because they can expand their product reach. And their Zazzle's an international site; they ship everywhere in the world, and so therefore you just all of a sudden stop limiting yourself as to who can see your art and your creativity. And they do have that whole aspect. So if you want to be a pure artist, like I do have an art site on Zazzle, and I focused mainly there on how to deliver like giclées and print on like canvas prints, etc. So if you want to go that route, you can, and you can literally use Zazzle as a way to create like an online store for yourself as with fine art. But when you see all the potential on Zazzle with that artists can have to merchandise their products. Like think about when you go to an art gallery and then you come out between the exit and the art gallery. What is there? A shop, and the shop has
Mm.
Picasso's painting on a mug or like on a calendar or whatever. And so everyone who's an artist has to understand that's how you make your
Oh,
money.
calendars. Oh man. Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't even think about
yeah,
calendar. Yeah.
calendars, notebooks, Post-it notes, all of those. I sold, and I also do photography and I do art. But one of the things that's the most fun and yet perplexing is I keep selling pencils that have a picture of Turks and Caicos Beach on it. And it's really hard because the image is actually vertical and it's on a pencil. So how do you see an image that's full bleed on a pencil? But they love them and they keep coming back, and I make money off of them every year or so. And I'm going, okay, like the amount of ability to sell something that you've made that's creative is endless. And just don't, and there's no listing fees for anything. So you can have 100,000 products up there. Not that we would suggest you do that, but there's nothing really stopping you from continuing to, as we call, and I know it's very bro energy, but print money. And people like that because, like, I'm going to go print money because all I'm doing is allowing people to do their own print on demand version. And that's the other fun thing is, as Jen said, people customize the templates now for weddings and occasions. They might just add their information. But for me, because I've done the monogram route and the somewhere just here's some text samples, go for it, make your own versions. When the people put the reviews in, because you can see what people made if they upload a picture, they look nothing like my original design, and they love my product, and they gave me a 5-star review. And so don't underestimate the trickle effect of you beginning someone's creative interest and then them making their own and being so happy that you started the process for them, even though
It's like Canva templates, right? Where I'm like, I love this template. I changed everything about it, but I love it. But like the Canva template gives you the bones.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you still get
Mhm.
paid the royalty.
That's so amazing. And I'm very curious as a consumer potentially of this. I mean, we've seen I've bought print on demand things. So how are people finding Zazzle? Because I know to search on Etsy.
Hmm.
And I've also bought some print on demand-esque stuff on Amazon, I'm pretty sure. But how are people finding Zazzle if, let's say, the average consumer like me has never heard of it until you guys told me about it?
Absolutely. So first of all, Pinterest, if you're looking at things on Pinterest, that's what we teach our clients is to pin the product to Pinterest. It's really easy. As soon as you post the product for sale, there's a little button on the Zazzle platform that goes like share to Pinterest. And that's a searchable search engine. So, and also Zazzle feeds every one of your products that you make on the Zazzle platform because it's an online store, it's a website. So every single product is a URL. And because of that, it's like a blog post. And because of that, Google, it's all fed to Google. And so if you put the keywords in properly that you are listing your product with, then Google, you can do a Google search, or in this case now an AI search of some sort, as long as it's searchable. And and then the other thing is there's a lot of dedicated customers that know the power of Zazzle and understand what it is, and they become loyal customers for sure. But everything is on there. Disney, Marvel, National Geographic, like all the big brands also have stores on Zazzle. And so you've just also up-leveled yourself to be equal with those brands once you open a store, which is really fun. But yes, as a consumer, I don't know if Jen wants to add to that, but that's the main ways that people find
And
Zazzle.
I mean, most people think about Etsy or know about Etsy more so than this platform. There's other platforms as well. Like there's one called Redbubble, there's Minted, like there's a lot lower like platforms that people don't know about as well. I would say that yes, not everyone knows about Zazzle, but if you do come across it somehow, then you have loyal customers, like Elke said. With Etsy, it's a lot harder for people to customize. And I think that Etsy is a completely different ballgame because you have to still use another platform for print on demand. There's one called Printful or Printify. So when you open up an Etsy store, it's not actually like you're on Etsy designing and you just open up a store on Etsy. Etsy is a platform where you're housing your listings. So imagine like a Shopify store. So there's a lot more work involved to create an Etsy listing on the designers or the seller side. So that's also one of the reasons why we like Zazzle, because everything is in-house. You log into your account, then they have the products on the platform. You click on the product, you design it, you post it for sale, and it's done. Etsy is a little bit different. But yes, people do seem to know more about Etsy because they've just had that market share. It's interesting because Elke and I were actually on Etsy way back when. And I was on Etsy because Etsy originally started out as a maker's site where people were selling physical products. They've now shifted to print on demand, but the thing is that they only shifted to print on demand because they saw that there was other print on demand competition, but they don't have the technology to actually house the print on demand technology on their website. It's just like, as I said, a listing store. So because I used Etsy way back when to actually, I did fashion and design, and I created jewelry and physical things. So it started out as a maker's store, and then they realized we need to keep up with technology, but we don't have the technology. So how can we incorporate that? So they're just allowing people to actually sell their items on their website. So I could technically kind of take my Zazzle listing and list it on Etsy if I wanted to. So yeah, so
that makes sense. Yeah. And you can't, it's just like what Elke was saying, like when I got that little plaque with my daughter's name, I had to just hope it looked good, and she has like a short first name and a long middle name. And I'm like, hope that looks good. I have no way of knowing till it comes. Hope it's spelled right, especially because I have to pay to ship it from the US to Georgia, and then I don't see it till it gets here and I can't return it. So that's where something like Zazzle would have been really nice. And knowing that it's actually coming from Zazzle rather than like some other print on demand platform that you're then listing
and
on Etsy.
like you said, you can see it in real time. So if I had this baby shower item that you had in my store, you could put your daughter's name in and her middle name, and you could even rearrange it yourself to make it look different. Like it doesn't have to stay the way it looks. So you can actually play around with it. It's like a Canva or Photoshop. So
so I could have her have a big first name and like a tiny middle name so that it doesn't look so awkward.
And what's kind of neat about that is that you, as the buyer, you can do whatever you want to the design. You're taking just this original template and you're like, I like the bare bones of this. How can I make it mine? If I want to add something to it, I can. If I want to change the text, I can even change the font size. Like you can do whatever you want. And the interesting thing is that they can completely change your original design and you still get the money because they clicked on your product originally. And I've had people review some of my wedding invitations, and it's so funny because I started out with something that I know what it looked like, and then they put a review and they're like, I love it so much, it's amazing, and they take a photo, and it's like, I don't even know where they got this invitation from, but they bought the original one from me, which is kind of fun. So that's another really cool thing about print on demand. Going to your point with Etsy, it's like fingers crossed, I hope it looks good. And this is kind of what I want, but maybe it's not 100% what I want. And maybe I wanted to have the ability to change things, but this is what I have as an option. So Zazzle.
This is so cool. Okay, I'm a Zazzle fan already. Next time I need print on demand, I'm gonna go. I'm like, oh, it's like the like that kind of because I'm a Canva lover. I'm like, ooh, this sounds so fun. That's incredible. And I'm curious. So which of you got started with print on demand first of the two of you? Okay, Elke, you started first. What got you into, I mean, you said that you had this corporate job. I'm curious what got you into it. And then Jen, I want to talk with you about how you got started with it living in Spain, because I'm sure that's gonna be very interesting for a lot of people as well.
And just a quick side note before I say that, you asked me, because you've done so much of your own print on demand purchasing already, if you were on Zazzle, opened up your own store, you would be able to pay yourself royalty by purchasing your own products that you make on yourself. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, if it's $8, you're really only spending $6 because you're getting the $2 back. Oh, that's so interesting. Okay.
So there we go. Okay, so when I had this binder this thick of everything that I could possibly do at the time when I started back in the day, in the olden days, because I'm already almost 64, and I was just trying to figure out something that met certain criteria. I wanted it to be perceivable for me, coming from a completely different industry. I wanted to be passive as much as possible, even though, no one can say that there's ever a passive business model, but there's certain ones that are more passive than others. And I want it to be extremely possible. And I wanted the time, and this is the, cliche part, I wanted more time freedom because I was constantly traveling and working. I saw my kids about an hour at a time, like a day. And it was just overwhelming that I was doing so well, but I wasn't actually sticking to my authentic self of wanting to be really awesome mother. And then I wanted to be more of empowered with my own income ability because I have a PhD, and in the corporation that I was working at, they said I had already hit I'd had several increases in salary and positions. And they said, you've hit your ceiling in this company and basically in this industry, unless you get a MD. So I'm going like, great. I'm like 34, 35. I have no clue what I want to do with the rest of my life because this is, excuse my language, sucks that I'm stuck at this income level and I know I deserve more. And how do I make more money?
To be told at 34, 35, you're stuck at this. You cannot ever raise your income. I'd be like,
and at that point, they were like the industry I worked on was very lush, and they were starting to cut back. So instead of sending doctors to Puerto Rico for a week, because I worked for the pharmaceutical industry, and we literally would send people to Puerto Rico for a week to help them, remember that this is a great drug to prescribe, which I thought was very unethical at the time already. But then all of a sudden it was like, no, we have to do Zoom calls or things like that. So and my job started getting more and more overwhelming to be able to more work, less time. And even though I'd already joined one corporation that said that they were mentioned in Forbes as one of the top 5 companies worldwide that were treating women in a way that gave them the flexibility to have a family as well as a career. And I just didn't see that happening. So I just went full in on let me see what I can do that can create a long-term business that is going to actually give me what I want, which is the 3 Ps that we talk about now: perceivable, passive, profitable. And Zazzle was the one and only thing that truly met all those goals. And it's the first thing that made me money. And it only made me a couple of cents at the first sale I made. But I go if I can do this with a grainy photo of a polar bear from the Toronto Zoo with the word "Save the Earth" on it, or whatever I said on it as a sticker, I can do this. I can do this. And because of that, I just built it up and realized this is so much bigger than I actually ever thought possible, because I wasn't just sort of looking to replace my income. It was this is something I can build, I can be really proud of, and I just stopped everything else that I was trying to do because I was selling my art online. I was doing like art galleries. I was doing photography. I was doing writing. I had articles published. I was just everywhere. And finally, like this one goes like, this is it. Let's do this. It fits all the P's. Yeah.
It's like once you find your thing, let's go all in.
And then just
Absolutely.
as a daughter's perspective, I just remember her, I don't know how and when you had the time, but just scouring the internet for anything. We were even doing quizzes or like reviews on products just for like, I don't know if those still exist now, but it was like every review you did, you got 10 cents or something like that. And yeah, and then I guess she came across Zazzle and it just clicked, and the world, it's history, I guess, then after that. Yeah.
Yeah. And when did you start with this,
I can't
Jen?
remember exactly if it was a year after or a couple months. Mom, maybe you can tell me, but I started when I was 18. So it was 2008. And I was just actually in my first year of university. Yeah, first or second year of university. And I kind of had this mindset as well that I just saw my mom quit her job and she's determined to make her own online money. And we had a lot of discussions about corporate and like what I wanted to do. This was in a weird transition of my life too, where I was just deciding which degree I wanted to study in university or being college in the United States, right? And I was so undecisive. Like I knew that I wanted to do something with. I really was interested in fashion and design, and this at this point in time, I was doing a lot of my hobbies. Right, I was taking clothing, ripping it up, and putting it back together, making jewelry, and all of that stuff. So I knew I wanted something to do with fashion, but in the fashion industry in Toronto, it's really hard to get into. So I decided not go the fashion route, but go the business route. So I was in my second year of business school and I absolutely hated it. I'm always like in high school, I had all the best grades. I had a 98% average in high school at an internationally known private school in Canada. I was not, I was very, very smart. Got to college, university, and I was getting 50s and 40s, and I was bombing, and I didn't know why. And I really went more the social route than the educational route, and my parents could see that. My parents were like on Facebook. I'm like, where were you on a Tuesday night when you were supposed to be studying? Anyhow, that's another story. But so in my second year of university, I came across Zazzle and I realized this is something that I can do because I was very nervous about what I wanted to get into. I knew I wanted to actually quit university. I dropped out in my second year. I finished my second year, dropped out in my third year. And in that transition, I realized I can do this while I'm in university and studying. And I started to actually make some money, which was really cool because I saw all of my girlfriends in my first and second year of university going and getting a job at a restaurant or a bar and working until 4 o'clock in the morning, being exhausted, making very little money, and then not actually doing the thing that they wanted to for their career. And a lot of my girlfriends were like, I've been told by my professors that, it's going to be a 10-year period where I can actually work in the industry where I want to work. And I was like, I don't want that. Like, and I was like, I'm not that type of person. And so I decided then and there that I really was going to make this work. And I didn't know what that would look like. I also personally had a fashion blog. I was trying to do Google AdSense. I actually got kicked out and banned from Google AdSense because it was when you could actually click on your blog multiple times and refresh the page so you could earn money. I'm like blacklisted from Google AdSense, which is hilarious. So yeah, and then so I realized that I can do this thing while I'm studying, and then also while I decided to not be in university anymore, and I started to build up my store and make quite a bit of money. And then the funny and interesting way that I actually ended up in Spain, which if you want to, I can get into the story, is that I came back from university. And I have two younger brothers who are in high school. They're 5 years younger than I am. And in Canada, at least, people who are in college or university, they get out of university or college before high school does during the time of the year. So we got out in May. My brothers were about to get out in June for the summer. And so I went back home because I went to a university that was about 5 hours away from my hometown. Went back home and I went to go visit one of my brothers, and I went to one of his cricket games. of all things, cricket. And I'm like, my parents told me, I was like, I don't want to spend, it's like a 5-hour game and they have tea time in between and it's like a whole thing. And so I told my parents, I was like, I don't want to do this on one, like on a weekday. I want to go like be with my friends or something. And my parents like, go and
I was like, I just have to interrupt because like you're going
yeah,
to this. You have
yeah.
to support your
So
brothers.
long, it's coming to the end of the story, I promise. So anyway, I was like, I don't want to. And then so anyway, went back to my high school because this was the high school that I went to, and watched my brothers play cricket. And turns out that there was this really, really handsome Spanish man on the cricket team. At that point in time, he was a boy, but yeah, because he was 2 years younger than me. Thank God he wasn't 4 or 5 like my brothers. But anyway, he was still in high school, but 2 years younger than me. And it was his last year of high school, last couple of weeks, to be honest. And his student visa was running up, and he was about to go back to Barcelona, where he lived and was from. And so, in the last couple of weeks of before he left for the end of the year for summer, we just started talking and sort of created a relationship. And we started doing long distance when he left in high school. And then 2 years of long distance, and then in the meantime I was still working on building up my store. I was making quite a bit of money, which is awesome. This is where the print on demand comes into the whole thing. Where then finally I was like, I've saved up enough money. I'm completely free. I don't have any student debt. I don't have any other reason to not do this. And there was a choice, and I was like, do you want to continue this relationship with this person? Do you want to end it and stay in Canada, or do you want to go to freaking Spain? I was like, let's go to Spain. So yeah, and then I worked out all the things that I needed to do for my visas and everything. And the really great thing that the story comes into play, where print on demand was so important, was that I was making already a lot of money. And so I had no worries or issues about moving abroad. And that barrier of, okay, what am I going to do for income when I get there? And secondly, that when I moved there, they were actually in their unemployment crisis. And even if I tried to get a job, I would not have been able to, because first of all, at that point in time, I had no language skills in Spanish. And also I had no I had no visa or anything for working. And funny enough, at one point in time, throughout that next year, my boyfriend at the time, his uncle owned a yacht charter business, and he told me, he was like, "Why don't you become my secretary? You can help answer the phone calls or do paperwork or whatnot." And I actually went to the government with my contract, and they were like, "Sorry, no, you're not from here. We have this unemployment crisis. You don't speak Spanish. There are a million people on the streets who need potential jobs." Even though they didn't have a contract for the job I want, but they were like, "Sorry, no, we can't hire you because that spot could be filled by somebody who's actually a national." So thankfully, I had my print on demand business working for me. I was making upwards of $6,000, $7,000 US a month. And it was,
Wow. And
oh
this is
yeah,
like your early
like
20s,
20,
right? At this
21.
point?
I moved
Yeah.
over to Spain when I was 20, and 21, 20, and then it's,
So when most people are still in college and university studying, working at a bar, I was a hostess at a restaurant, like you're working that kind of job. You're like, "Oh yeah, I'm bringing in, what did you say? It was like 6K a month?" You're
US.
like, "Yeah, I'm
yeah,
done with college. I'm bringing in
living in
6K a
Spain,
month
going to
working
the beach
online."
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez. And this is one of those things where we were just talking about this very recently in Nashville, where I was saying now it would be so much easier because digital nomad visas exist, which they didn't exist back when we're like the same age, back when we were in our 20s, they didn't exist. And now I'm like, oh, it
Yeah.
would be so much easier now because you'd be like, I'm making 6K a month with my own business. And they'd be like,
Yeah.
welcome in.
Yeah.
You want to start right now? Do you want to move now?
Yeah. No,
That's
I
just
had you.
incredible.
I mean,
Yeah.
you just recently moved to Spain, but I had to go through a lot of loopholes for my visas. And yeah, thankfully, there's now that digital nomad visa, which if you have everything set up properly, you can say, "I'm here and permanently." Yeah, it's super amazing. Like my life completely changed. I lived in Spain for 10 years. I absolutely loved it. Elke and I started our course business in 2017 just because we wanted to share the knowledge to other people. We were like, if we're doing this, how come X, Y, or Z person down the road can't do it. And we wanted to help empower women to be able to do the things that we did. Elke and I have traveled the world. Like I said, I worked maybe 2 hours a day. And then the rest of the day, because I lived in Spain, I lived in Mallorca, which is an island off the coast of Spain. I lived 5 minutes walk away from the beach. And so my day would be going to have a coffee, going to have, a swim, going for a walk, going out for dinner. I was definitely living the luxurious lifestyle. That's not everybody's dream, but when I was 18, 19, I was like, I want that. Plus, that was the age of being a digital nomad. Like people were travel blogging, people doing all of that. And I just got into this really cool niche of print on demand that allowed me to literally live that travel blogger lifestyle, but work for myself and actually build a business. And like I said, I'm still making money off of the products that I made 10 years ago. I don't live in Spain now because that relationship ended, thankfully. But, the life that I lived when I lived over there was absolutely amazing.
And as somebody who was a travel blogger, like I met my husband at a travel blogging conference, you were probably enjoying that lifestyle more than a lot of travel bloggers who are spending all their time creating content, writing articles, answering emails, like the amount of work that travel blogging takes. Like you were probably actually enjoying that lifestyle more than
Yeah.
let's say all the
Yeah.
influencers
Because I
now.
saw that. Like I
Yeah.
tried. I have a million photos of, Mallorca and Spain. And that was in the back of my mind. I'm like, I want to be like that person. Because for me, you travel bloggers were so cool. You're like, that looks like an amazing lifestyle. But then I kind of realized all of the work and all of the photo editing and all of that stuff. And I was like,
And it's so hard to make
yeah.
money and it takes forever.
So
Yeah.
I was living that lifestyle,
Yeah.
but doing something different, which I think being on this podcast, maybe people aren't interested in being a travel blogger, but knowing that you can live abroad and make money. The one cool thing is that this platform, just tying it all together, is that you can literally work from anywhere in the world, no matter which city. I don't want to say that 100%, but we have students from Asia, we have students from Australia, we have students from Europe, we have students from North America, South America. So like wherever you decide to land as moving abroad, like the possibilities are there for you. Obviously, you have to figure out your taxes and everything, but your original citizenship, like we have people who live in Europe, but they're getting paid out in US dollars. So, you can figure the currency out. Like there's no regulations really or real restrictions for being in a physical place working, if that makes sense.
Because it's print on demand, so then Zazzle will just send it to wherever
Well,
the
no,
customer
my
orders
point is
from,
the
right?
earning money
So
part. So you just have to put in your address
yeah,
and
yeah.
then you have a PayPal account and they send you the money. And then you have to fill out obviously a tax form based on which country your passport is from or where you reside, which we won't get into because each country is different. But yeah, I personally, for example, make money in US dollars. And when it gets transferred to my PayPal, I transfer it to Canadian dollars. And sometimes like Elke and I sometimes even like wait for the dollar to change so we get some more money.
No, I'm just saying in terms of like as
Oh,
if you were
yeah.
selling a physical product, let's say, you would have to be worried about, okay, well, if I'm living in this country, but the person who wants to buy it is in this country, then you have to navigate the shipping. Whereas with this, you can just live wherever you want, and then your client can be wherever they want, and Zazzle will handle all of that for you. And that's something that I really noticed when doing that wedding in Australia. If I wanted a physical item, it was a whole thing with the Etsy seller, to get it to Australia. Whereas I was doing a lot of not even print on demand, but like, give me the thing and I will go get it printed on poster board myself because like I can't even get this physical item. So I'm just imagining, and that's why I don't have I've had like 2 clients that do physical things and sell them on Etsy because it's, are making jewelry and selling it because it's like, it's a whole thing to manage all the international shipping and the shipping costs. Whereas this allows people to be creative, but then not have to worry about any of that and be able to live abroad, which is why I was like, please come on, let's talk about this.
It's
And
even to the point where we get a lot of people from Etsy who are so overwhelmed by how much like the VAT tax they have to pay or collect or whatever that, and they just don't want to deal with any of that. They just, as you said, like just put the offering up and then let the physical product be made by Zazzle, shipped by Zazzle, collect the money by Zazzle, customer service by Zazzle, and then Zazzle pays you a royalty. And you can actually get up to 50% of the referral if you refer the product to the person. So that ties back to how do people find you? If you are clever with your organic marketing and they actually land on your site or like anything, a link from your store or whatever, then you can, like right now they suggest about a 10% royalty rate. But if you literally bring customers into Zazzle to your store, you can get 50% of the total sale price as your payout because of the affiliate commission as well. So it becomes very lucrative in terms of the money. Yeah.
I love that. And I have a question too, and this might be a little hardball, so we'll see if you have the info off the top of your head. But in terms of, I get that there are some people listening to this that might be like, this all sounds good and fine, but what is the likelihood that I can actually make money doing this? And I think it's incredible that both of you kind of independently were able to get this going, but then there might be some thoughts around, but yeah, but that was a long time ago. So I know you've helped a lot of
Absolutely.
people make money, but I'm curious, what do you have to say for the people who are thinking, yeah, but like, is this going to be one of those things where I'm working really hard and making all these designs and I can't get any money in the door because, it doesn't work for me anymore because it's been 10 years or something like that. So what would you say to the people who are worried about that in the back of their mind?
Absolutely. Well, we have one client that we can talk about because we have a lot of clients that we can't talk about. But one example is this lady was not making any money, but she had a store that she was trying, and she has another business. It's a crystal business that she sells crystals online. So she already knew what to do business wise, but she was struggling because she just figured she could just do this and it wouldn't work. That was in October of 2025. And within a year, she went from making basically zero money per month to making about $5,000, $6,000 a month. And then, so that brings it to
You said October
like
2025, but October 2024.
sorry, not 2024, sorry. And then October 2025, she was making $5,000 to $6,000. That was just before the big peak, because on any sort of online shopping, you realize that the months of October, September, that kind of range, plus into the Black Friday, Cyber Monday stuff, which is in November, you can pretty much like double your income for the whole year if you set up your store right. And so she had $10,000 profit payout months for November, December, January, February, March. And now because we've set her up properly with her inventory, and it's not just fly by night stuff that's seasonal, but it's consistent inventory that sells every month. She's now at $10,000 a month. And so we took her from 0 to 80,000 US in about 18
I just
months.
want to follow up on that
Wow.
story too,
Yeah.
is that your question was, okay, how can I sell? If I'm listening to this podcast, how
Yeah.
realistic is it for me to design? Well, I think that there's strategy involved, obviously, and that's where Elke and I come in with, okay, we want to build a business. And I think a lot of people who fail at print on demand, they don't realize that it's actually a business. And I'm attest to that because when I first started out,
Hmm.
I was a teenager, right? And I'm like, I just want to have fun. So I just posted, I thought I could make a lot of money by just having 4 t-shirts in my store. And then I realized, okay, well, if I want to make $1,000 a month, I need to have at least $1,000 worth of items in my store to make the math work, right? I can't just sell 1 t-shirt and all of a sudden I'm selling 400 t-shirts a day to like make up that income. So understanding that you have to have the
Yeah.
inventory, understanding that you have to kind of do a little bit of work of understanding what the trends are and also what sells. And I like to think of Zazzle as a like very different platform than Etsy, because the Zazzle buyer, who are people coming to this platform to purchase, they want something that they can customize, and they want something probably for either occasions, for a gift, or for business, or for Christmas. Like there's different things incorporated in there, but let's just keep them very simple. And so as a seller, you're going to think about, okay, even if I'm like an artist and I make my own artwork, how can I utilize my artwork to be something that I think would potentially sell? Because we had a lot of students,
Mm-hmm.
not now because they've kind of understood the way we work, but do a little doodle or a drawing or just purchase a graphic. I had some people as well, for example, take photography. Like somebody wanted to sell pictures of animals that they saw at the Yellowstone National Park, and they put it on a postcard. Well, that's really great. But then you think about, okay, like who is actually buying those things? And so you have to get into that mindset of like, okay,
Yeah.
let's think outside the box to like, how can we serve a customer? And that's where the business side of things come in. And we don't want to scare people off because,
Mm-hmm.
we love working with artists and people who just want to make money. But I think that you have to be in the mindset of like, okay, I can't just randomly post products for sale. I have to actually think about what I'm posting, because I've seen so many people waste so many hours making random designs and thinking that they will work, and then being very disappointed that they're not selling. Even though when I go into their store, I'm like, I don't understand I literally don't understand the concept of this. Like, why did you decide to put this design on this
Mm-hmm.
product? It doesn't make sense to me. And that being said, like, you can definitely make a lot of money, but you just have to be very savvy about, okay, let's think about this before we start designing. And I just want to say too, like if people after listening to this podcast go and look up print on demand or look up Etsy, Etsy is very, very different. And there's a fine line too, where I think a lot of people are copying. There's no way that you can take a Disney character or K-pop demon hunters and put it on a t-shirt and sell it yourself, because I see that happening on Etsy, and that is not allowed anywhere. And I don't know why they allowed to do that. So like, don't take Etsy as an example of what to sell on Zazzle, because it's also a very different beast. I want to call it that. So Zazzle is where people come to want to buy something that is personable, customizable, and it's something that's meaningful, right? So for an occasion, for a gift, for Christmas, for a holiday, for graduation. And it's very much like 100% where this person can see this template, like I said, and 100% completely customize it to be their own. That's why they are willing to pay the money to buy the product that's on that platform. So if you think about it that
And that makes so much sense. It's like the marketing side of it, where it's not that you have to go out and get clients, but you have to think with your marketing brain around what are people going to actually want and what is going to actually sell, rather than just what do I want to create. And if we look at what I've purchased with print on demand, it's occasion and, like something to commemorate, right? So it's like a wedding guest book that has a world map with a heart over Seattle and a heart over Australia and our names on it that people can sign, like a little, like a poster type thing. Or like a plaque to go, next to my daughter after she's born, that's engraved, that now is hanging in her room. Like that type of thing, where it's like, what are people gonna actually want and spend money on, rather than, if I'm going to buy a Yellowstone postcard, I'm probably
yeah.
going to buy it at Yellowstone. Like, why would I buy that on Zazzle? You know what I mean? Unless I had just been there. You know what I mean? Even then, why would I buy that? So what would you suggest, for example, the Yellowstone photographer? Where would you
Yeah, that
suggest
was
that they
that was an
put
interesting
their
one, because I
things?
always have to respect like my students or clients and then try and work within their boundaries. Because if they're dead set on like, I want to sell yellow, and like I hope it like, I'm hoping that I'm not offending anybody, but like if it's like a squirrel or if it's a goat and they're like, I want to sell this picture because I was there and it was meaningful to me, I have to try and like talk to them and say, well, I understand your connection to it, but if you want to make money, because that's your purpose of being on Zazzle, unfortunately, this is not going to sell, because if I'm going to buy this postcard, like you said, I have either had to be there or I have just been in like part of that experience. And once again, why didn't I buy it at Yellowstone when I was just there, right? It's a very, very small market. It potentially could sell because there are people out there who would be willing to buy that. But as a business owner, you have to think, okay, I'm getting rid of my ego, even though I have this bank of photography in my hard drive and I want to just utilize it because it's been there and sitting there. Unfortunately, that's not going to work. So can I take that photograph and can I put it on something different? That's a very specific example about like animals at Yellowstone. But let's say somebody has a floral picture, like they've taken pictures of their garden in their backyard, and there's some really beautiful flowers. I have clients like this as well, and they want to sell it on a poster or a print. Well, I have to take them out of the mindset and selling. Okay, we're not just selling the photograph; we're selling the art, like I call it artwork or the photograph, but let's incorporate it into something else. Where can we put it on a pillow? Can we put it on a shower curtain? Can we put it on something and then incorporate some sort of personalization with it, where the actual photograph itself is not what's selling per se. It's that you are utilizing the photograph to give it a feeling for something. Um, you can also use the floral photograph for a wedding invitation. Like there's so many things that you can play around with. Photographs are definitely a bit of a harder one because people aren't inclined to really buy photographs anymore. Photographs being are used on Zazzle, but more so as like template holders for people. So if you have a save the date that has a photograph on it or something. But yes, with people who come to me and they're like, this is what I want to sell, and this is what I am selling or need to sell. I try to reflect with them and say, okay, like let's look at the market share and where that could potentially go for you. If you're here just to have fun, then do it. But if you're here to actually make $1,000 to $5,000 a month, we have to rework your mindset a bit about what you think will sell on the platform.
I
Yeah,
like
and
that. And
one
just
of the
quickly too, I'm thinking, Elke, like utilizing the fact that people want to be able to customize, like
Mhm.
who's coming to Zazzle, people who want to customize. So it's not even just like putting the photo of the animal from Yellowstone on a shirt with some cool text, like in a vintage print, but then it's like, okay, but can somebody customize the text with the vintage print to be whatever they want with the photo of the moose, so they could write something funny or something like that. So it's like, yeah, let's use the photo, but
Outside the
like,
box a bit.
who's going to
Yeah.
buy it and what are they going to buy it for? Yeah,
And
yeah.
one of the things that I want to say though is like sometimes it can work if it's a photo. For example, have you heard of the word of grumpy cat and the memes that they
Yes.
used to, okay, that started on Zazzle. That was the person's
Oh,
cat
I
who
legit had a grumpy cat mug that somebody bought me because I could do the face pretty well.
awesome. Well, that started on Zazzle. She was putting up pictures of her cat, but how do you make your picture of your cat relatable, as Jen said, to other people? Is add a meme that makes it funny, right? And so that's how you can use a photograph. And I think she sold that whole brand for like millions of dollars recent. Like you can look it up. I'm going to misquote if I say any more than that, but yeah. And that started out with a Zazzle store. So if you have the ingenuity to like say like, okay, it's as Jen said, no one else is going to relate to that picture the same way you are. So you have to step away from that. But how would other people relate to it? For example, make a funny meme with it. And if people love it, they're going to want it. And that would be a use for a photography type product for sure. That isn't just a placeholder. Yeah.
Love that. And I love that you teach the business principles as well. So it's like, here's how to use the platform, and then here's how to be successful with the platform. Because I think that's the biggest fear, for people going into things is like, yeah, just another thing that I'm trying. And of course, I'm not making any money because there's a million people on the platform. But really, I love that, yeah, with those business principles combined with some creativity,
Mhm.
like that's how you make the money.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We love it.
Yes.
Well, before we talk, yeah, yes, I love it too. I'm like feeling kind of tempted to get in there now. Like, Rochelle, stop it. You have your own business to run. But before we jump into how to find you or how people could learn from you, do you have any last words of advice for people who are interested in this or on the fence and are wanting to utilize this to help them move?
Okay, I'll go first. Just to take a chance, right? I have tried to convince so many of my girlfriends, just like you, Rochelle, like my age, where I see that they're struggling, where I see that they just had a baby. I'm like, this is an opportunity for you to change what your future looks like. And the most commonly excuse is, I'm too busy. Like, I don't have the time. And so I want to just give one story about one of our clients. Her name is Lorena, and I've interviewed her. She's been on our podcast and YouTube channel. She came into our community. She was working at Mary Kay, and she also she have another job? Anyway, she had a 9-to-5 job. She had 4 kids under the age of 10. And she wanted to make her Zazzle business work for her because she didn't want to be stuck in a 9-to-5 job anymore. She wanted to spend time with her kids. And she was just, there was a lot of stuff going on. I mean, 4 kids under the age of that is like, you have to be with it. And, you
I have 1 kid and I'm like,
and
that's a lot.
the moral of the story is that she wanted to make this work so badly that she actually said to us that she got up at 4 o'clock in the morning every morning and spent the first 2 hours, like 4 till 6, before her kids started to wake up, before she had to take them to school, before she went to her 9-to-5. She dedicated those 2 hours. And I'm not saying everybody has to stay up until 4 o'clock or do it at 4 o'clock in the morning, but she said that that's when she was able to finally work freely without noise. And she wanted to do this so badly. Just last year or the year before, and I'm not a misquote, she finally quit her 9-to-5, and now she's a full-time Zazzle designer and graphic designer, and she just made it work. And so for anybody who thinks that they don't have time or that they can't do it, think of Lorena. And I'm just thinking of her, like, with all her 4 kids and then her 9-to-5 job, is that she was dedicated because she knew that she wanted something to change. And so for anybody who's moving abroad, I'm not too sure, of your clientele, if they already have a plan or if they have a 9-to-5 job or if they're making money. But even if you have a job, you can do this on the side and make some extra money. It doesn't mean that you need to make $5,000 a month, and maybe you want to do that, but you could also be making a couple extra $100 a month, and that could pay for an extra night out on the town or doing something, right? And so it really changes people's lives. And just one last little thing is, we've had so many people email us or contact us and say, you've literally gotten me out of a situation that I thought I was going to be stuck in forever, and you've changed my life. And so it's just really heartwarming to know that if people are dedicated and they want to make it work, that they can really do some difference and have a different future. I never thought that I would be able to, like, I didn't even know what Mallorca was when I had no idea. Now everybody knows because of the famous Ibiza song and people are going there more often. But Mallorca 15, 20 years ago was a completely different island and nobody knew about it. And if I hadn't been on Zazzle, I would have never been able to live there. And I would never take that away from my experience of my life's history. So yeah, that's my last 2 cents.
My last 2 cents is that, weirdly enough, anybody from any background can do that because we have the clients to prove it. So we have people that are absolutely creative, and they just need a little piece of it. So if you're trying this on your own, for example, but you're stuck, it's not because you can't do it, it's because you don't have the right tools. And the tools make it so much easier. Jen and I, we actually really struggled the first 2 years we were on the platform, and as much as we were stubborn, I guess, because we just never gave up. But we should have, had we had someone like ourselves who were actually going to just give you hand it to you on a silver platter as to what you do to start and also scale, then we would probably have taken a lot less time to get where we were at the time that we were our maximum earnings. But so we just want you to hear that if you're deciding, first of all, you're doing something scary, you're moving abroad. The second thing is if that's the big dream of yours, don't underestimate your abilities to do something different when you just pick the right people to follow to fully understand what the new thing is that you're going to also do to keep making more income in order to make that possible and easier for you. So that's really important. Whether you choose our route or a different route, just know that you're smart enough that if you're already asking Rochelle how to move abroad and she's giving you all the tools, that you'll know and you'll feel aligned with what it is that's going to work for you. That's really important because, yeah, we've had people that are full on creative to a guy who's actually our top earner, Brandon, and he's let us talk about him for the whole 10 years that we've coached him. He's actually made $1 million profit now. He did this all on trips between the States and anywhere in Europe and Asia and wherever he was traveling for his C-suite corporate job. And he goes like, I want to retire by age 55, which he has. He retired last year. And we helped him do that. And he used all his money that he made on Zazzle to buy income property to continue to make more money. And he had no design skills. He had absolutely no clue. He just saw the potential because he came from a corporate background where you could just see, oh yeah, no, this is a really good business model. I just need to figure out someone that can tell me what to do. And funny enough, at the last mastermind we were with him, we take people to Mallorca on masterminds just for fun. And we just have like weeks where we just go eat and drink and do fun things. And finally, after 10 years, he admitted he hasn't put a store category in his store. He just keeps making products. He's never cracked open our course. He just keeps paying for the mastermind or for the one-on-one coaching and goes like, Elke, or Jen, what should I do today? And then he goes and does it. And then that's it. And then that's how he's made
Sometimes you don't need a course. Sometimes you just need someone to tell you what to do. I love that.
Yeah. And then there's other people who buy the course and they bought it in 2017 and they're almost at the same level and they're just diligent. They're just doing their own thing. So you don't know yet what your path is, but trust that your path has this in store for you, and work with Rochelle for sure. She's awesome. And had we known about her initially, it wouldn't have been nearly as hard for the two of us because I did my best to try to also become a move abroad person. And I did my version of it, but I could have done better had I known what Rochelle knows.
Yeah, and for anyone who's curious, Elke, you split time between the US and Spain and things like that because we couldn't figure out a visa. But now I'm like, hey, if you want to go back to Spain, there's some really good visas there.
Yes, give me all the details.
Come visit. But so, final question for both of you. Where can people get in touch if they wanted to learn more or they wanted to work with you and learn this skill and learn the business practices in addition to, how to get things set up? Where can people find you?
Yeah, we're all over the place. But I think the best thing is if you either have Instagram, then you can message us there. So at my name, Elke Clarke, and Jen is Miss MS Jen Clarke. And then also a lot of people maybe not on Instagram. So then the info at elkeclarke.com is probably the best way to start our conversation together. And then we can go from there. Yeah.
And you guys have a YouTube channel as well, right?
Absolutely. We have YouTube, podcast, this, and we have so many things. You can also just Google Jen and Elke Clarke and Zazzle, and we're the only people who actually teach at this level for the Zazzle platform, or pretty much for any print-on-demand platform that is like high-ticket income earners. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we will link to all of those below, so no worries about, wait, how do you spell Elke? And all of that, so we'll link to everything in the show notes or below the video on YouTube, so don't have to worry about memorizing that. And yeah, hopefully we've got some, I'm just excited. I was talking with the two of you before you came on about let's get some people making some money with you guys doing this, so then we can take that income and move abroad with it, with a completely location independent, pretty decently passive business, which I love. That sounds great. I'm all about living the freedom life. Location freedom, time freedom, financial freedom. This checks all the boxes. So I'm obsessed. And I'm so glad that the two of you could come on and share this because it was really the first live event that I got to know both of you. I said, okay, when can I get you on the podcast? I can't believe it took so long, but I'm like, okay, this sounds incredible and my people need to know about this. So thank you so much, both of you, for coming today. And yeah, I can't wait to see you,
thank you
both again soon.
It's been a pleasure. And thank you so much for having us on the podcast.
All right, now I'm sure why you can see why I had these two on, right? But honestly, I am tempted to start creating designs for myself. I do think I have enough on my plate with Move Abroad Coach, but it is quite tempting. And the reason why I love this model is the longevity, right? You build the asset once, and if you do it right, it pays you for years. Jen designed a save the date that sold over 800,000 copies. Elke has one monogram that has brought in half her income. And these are things that they created a decade ago that are still making money today while they sleep, while they travel, and while they actually live their lives. And that is the dream so many of us are chasing right now, right? Income that doesn't trade your hours for dollars. Income that you can do from anywhere in the world, any country, no matter where you decide to land. And a lot of people talking about passive income, and this is actually just my issue with passive income in general, is that, people say, oh, it's passive income, create a course and it sells in your sleep. But here's the thing, you still have to market it. You still have to do customer service and sales. But with this platform, they do it for you. So you just need to make sure that you're creating things that people want that make sense in the market. And what I love most is that you don't have to be a super creative designer to do this. You just have to think like a business owner and think about what people are actually going to want to buy. So if this lit up something in you, everything that you need to find Jen and Elke is linked in the show notes and below the video on YouTube. And if this show is helping you build your own life abroad, make sure that you're subscribed on Apple, on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever you're listening right now. That way you'll never miss an episode, and it genuinely helps more people who want to move abroad and build lives of freedom find us. Now, let's go make some money and step into a true life of freedom overseas. I'll see you next week. Bye. Thanks so much for joining me for this episode of the Move Abroad Coach podcast. Don't forget to hit follow so you never miss an episode. And if you're ready to take the next step towards your life of freedom overseas, head to moveabroadcourse.com to join the Move Abroad Master Plan, a self-paced course that walks you through creating your own personalized plan so you can move abroad with clarity and confidence. I'm Rochelle Gamblin, and I'll see you next week. Bye.